Right. Welcome everybody to this edition of Coping in Color. Thank you to the whole Black Mental Health Canada team for having us here today. My name is Kay, and I'm super excited to welcome Honoré with us. Welcome, Honoré.
Thank you. Happy to be here, coping in color, and just happy to all around talk about my experience with mental health.
Wonderful. So I'll just go into your bio really quickly to set the tone and allow for people to get to know you a little better. So Honoré, a transcendent soul born in Tomazo, Haiti, and nurtured in the serene landscapes of Ontario, Canada. As a fine artist, art teacher, mentor, and mental health advocate, his journey embodies the power of identity. From the vibrant galleries of Flesherton to the depths of his Haitian heritage, Honoré's artistry is woven with threads of inspiration and cultural pride. In the tapestry of his life, Honoré finds strength in his Haitian roots, reminding us all of the extraordinary resilience within us, even in face of adversity.
Mm,
So, thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Honoré.
my pleasure.
Yes. So I propose that we jump right into the thick of things. My first question for you, actually, it's a quick part of your bio that really caught my attention.
Mhm.
You describe yourself as a transcendent soul born in Tomazo. What inspired you to describe yourself this way?
Yeah, of course. It's just Haitians in our bones. We are creatives across the diaspora, and we are interconnected in that way, taking from our culture and our heritage and just expressing it for everyone to see and connect with and show our resilience and our camaraderie through each person to person. And so I love to express that through creating my artwork, and it really helps me tap back into my journey of finding my heritage and my place in my culture.
Hmm. And I just love what you're saying about having that as a legacy through your culture, through your experience, that artistic expression, and being able to communicate basically who you are and what you identify with through your art. And so it takes me kind of to my next question. Did art find you, or did you find art?
Mm, that is a great question. Well, ever since I was young, like as young as 4, 5, and 6, I've always had this creative outlet that I can connect to. Raised in a small town of 700 people, there were many art galleries. Even the mother that I was raised with, my mother was a fine artist, and she would show her art around just in the small town and outside of the small town, big city, wherever she could. And we would just go to art galleries and get that experience and truly soak it up, understand, conceptualize art and just these different art forms at such a young age. And it was great for my development and onto my young adulthood, where I would just go and advance my art career by going to college for it. So it's
Mhm.
always, like I said, it kind of connects with Haitians having an artistic bone across the diaspora. I always had this bone, and it's just been great for me to have that outlet and always come back to it.
Hmm. And I think it's really beautiful that you had the opportunity to have been cradled in a way, to have that bone, as you say, encouraged and fostered and cultivated by an artist, right? It could have been something, depending on what family, whichever family we have, it
Mhm.
might have not been encouraged, or it would have been just like, okay, a couple of coloring books, and you'll figure out your artistic style yourself. But to actually be raised by an artist, going to galleries, seeing what that world was like firsthand, I can only imagine how it helped um, to crystallize your relationship with that bone, like you said. Right.
Yeah, truly blessed. It was such a great experience. I changed nothing.
Yeah. And so we've got experiencing art in a small town. Like you said, the mother who raised you. Can you give us a little bit of context as to how you were raised, who your mother is, and segue into how did you come to maybe discover a little bit of the Haitian aesthetic to art?
Yeah, of course. So it started years ago. I was actually born in Haiti. However, I am adopted. I'm adopted into a transracial family, which means that I am of a different race than the mother who had raised me. In the orphanage, I was adopted and brought to Canada in that small town I was referring to in Ontario. And so it was a bit of a transition for me to, of course, to adapt to a different culture. Even as a baby, I was still growing, and frontal lobes are coming in as a toddler, right, as into a young adult, a teen, and always adapting and just finding the courage to speak and articulate through my artwork. It was the only way I could really truly make sense of it all without that Haitian culture constantly feeding and nurturing and advancing me and connecting me, because there were no other Haitians in this small town of Ontario. It was just me and my brother, and we were both creatives, and so we would use that. It was just the inspiration into our adulthood, into finding who we really are, and finding purpose in who we are.
Right. I think it's really beautiful that you say that you're talking so much about finding who you are in the midst of all of the love and the I love the word cradling. I think it's my word today, but how you were kind of embraced and held by the mom who raised you, but still being in search of identity and of what to kind of anchor yourself. Knowing that you're born in Haiti, and that you're growing away from that land. That being said, to kind of segue gently into the theme of today, which is mental health and coping in color, or coping as Black people with mental health, how would you define mental health?
Mm. Mental health, it's a way of finding your own self-care. It's so personal. What does that mean to you? And how do you take the steps in order to become one and satisfied with yourself and the way you move, the way you navigate life, your wins, your losses, and just continue to push forward through the adversity of life, right? There's no easy path to success, and it can be quite hard and tough and downright unjust. But
Hmm.
it's just for you to have the tools to be confident in who you are becoming, and finding your way in life through empathy and others helping you together to find your way. It's never something you should be ashamed of asking for help. And I think this is all encompassing in what mental health is and represents.
Right, absolutely. And there's so many elements out of what you shared just now, right? Of finding your way, finding your tools, not necessarily doing it alone, being able to, connect with other people and share and receive and give. And at least that's what it resonates to me.
Mhm.
Who were maybe I'm mixing my French and my English here, mais les personnes phares. So, important people in your path during your young adulthood that supported you in creating that mental health, mental wellness that you're talking about.
Yes, great question. My mother, of course, the biggest inspiration and supporter of my art career, she was the one who really advocated for me to go to art school and really see this journey through. And that was great. The best thing I ever did was enroll in fine art school, and just friends along the way who would encourage me, who would love doing art with me. I would have a friend in the small town I was raised with, who would come over, and I would teach her art techniques, art painting techniques, mainly acrylic painting techniques. And through then I would go on to just teach art. I have my own business creating art, teaching others, and all these different types of fine art techniques, whether it be drawing, watercolor, acrylic painting. So it resonated with me all those years ago. And of course, my family. My family is the biggest inspiration as well. My brother, in particular, Eloise, one of my oldest brothers, she just inspires me to keep pursuing my passion and just moving forward with it in that light.
Right, absolutely. And another piece that you kind of mentioned in just a moment ago was also adversity, right? So what I'm hearing is that your sense of community and your sense of family was really important in just saying, yeah, you've got this. This is a bone you've got. Let's
Mhm.
encourage it. Let's uplift it, right? But then there's also the flip side with adversity. Can you or are you comfortable sharing a little bit what you mean by the adversity that you've had to contend with in building your understanding of mental health?
Of course. Right. There's always going to be adversity at a young age, even well into, I keep saying, like my young adulthood through high school. And it's it was tough for me at first. I would really take it to heart when people would discourage me from making art, or even growing up in a predominantly white community, racism. There were times that people would just put me down, hateful words, words of discrimination, racism, and of course that would have me thinking: Is this the direction I want to go? Where do I want to go in life? But in turn, that actually empowered me to pursue art and just focus on helping others pursue art, find that creative outlet, and on the journey to that self-care and mental wellness. And so it's almost like a funny flip side. I would take everything that people would say and it would like bounce off of me, and I was able to really overcome and help others and inspire others. And I use that through my teaching of artwork, uh, and and it was like that adversity was almost necessary. People are always going to be there with that criticism, whether constructive or non-constructive. It's a matter of what do you choose to do with it, and how do you choose to help others in a constructive way through that type of negativity or constructive criticism.
I love that nuance that you bring when you say almost necessary, right? Because there is that piece of, do we really need to go through those difficult interactions when we're talking about racism, right? As a community, we're doing a lot of work trying to educate and empower folks to face racism, or but also, hopefully help people become educated and put some of those prejudices aside. But like you said, it happens. It's almost necessary. In terms of connecting with Haiti, did you always know that, yes, I am adopted? We talk about Haiti. I know where I come from. Or was it something that was, depending on the family, could sometimes even be taboo in some adoptee situations? And so it's further down the line, the child will say, hey, I want to know, where do I come from? Which country? Which area? How did that process go for you between you and your mom?
Yeah, great question. It was like a collaboration. So my parents did eventually tell me when I was of age. Again, my brain is still working and advancing. Frontal lobes are coming in as a toddler, right? And so my parents had told me about my adoption. And when I say collaboration, I would try to seek out what that represented for me, being adopted, coming from Haiti, being raised in a predominantly white community. I had to stitch all these parts of myself together to make sense of who I am and what I value my purpose. What is my purpose here? And so it was a journey that was, again, empowering for me to do for myself, even though I didn't have that connection to my heritage, right? There was, like I was explaining, no Haitian culture around me. We rarely talked about it as a family growing up in that small town.
Mhm.
Uh, and part of the initiative to enroll into college and fine art was to further seek out my purpose of my culture, my understanding of where I fit in my heritage, and to just better understand myself as a Haitian, connect with others.
Right, absolutely. And I love how you're um, using the word stitching together, right? So taking different parts of us or different parts of our experience, different parts of our heritage, and putting them together in a way that allows us to, like you said, reach our potential, our purpose, our mission, however we come to see it, taking all of these experiences and making sense out of them. In Haitian culture, the crossroad is a very, very important concept. And as we're talking about intersections, how does mental health and art intersect for you?
Great question. I have spoken about this before. Having a creative outlet, it has been a pivotal point in my mental health. Definitely having that, because oftentimes, as a community, as a Black community, it's tough to open up, become vulnerable, speak your truth and who you want to be, completely be comfortable in who you want to be, and truly show yourself. So
Hmm.
artwork is just a great modality for that, and it's really the perfect marriage. Getting people excited about art, working alongside others, camaraderie, helping others, learning these tips and techniques to go on and have that outlet for yourself, that piece of therapy for yourself that you can do, that you can nurture, you can practice, then creates progress, and it can become such a beautiful thing, a beautiful little slice of heaven, I like to say.
Right, absolutely. I think it's an important part of how artistic expression um, became a bone for Haitian culture, kind of like what you were saying earlier on in our time together, right? Of yes, it's definitely a form of therapy. It's therapeutic. As a community, we could notice that it's difficult. There is a taboo around mental health and talking about unwellness in those terms. But definitely just the slew of different art modalities that we could find and culture in general, but for the sake of today's conversation in Haitian culture, just all, music, visual arts, movement, dance. I would even say agriculture, because the way that we put things together to grow them together and create meals and create food together. When I hear you talk about finding your purpose, I hear community because you talk a lot about teaching, supporting people. Camaraderie is a word that has come up a few times when you've shared your experience. What does community mean for you?
It means everything, coming together for the greater good, and it's just such a beautiful feeling. You can't really compare it to anything else. For just for expressing yourself, becoming vulnerable, and collaborating, networking even. It's just such a great personality trait to have at that. And it's always good to put yourself out there, bounce between groups, and just and find your way, finding your voice, and having that critique even, right? So these can all be positive and constructive things that come and birth community.
Right.
It's just it's so necessary, community.
Absolutely. I do agree. I do think it is something when we're talking about mental health in the Black community, and we could say, oh, well, folks don't go to one-on-one therapy, but there are so many group spaces that Black folks have created for themselves, whether it's religiously, through sports, through art, or just how communities will cooperate for child rearing, finding jobs, supporting each other in that way. Community is such an important aspect of Black experience. In doing a little bit of research to prepare for today, I noticed that you received an award of Haitian Excellence, if I'm not mistaken. And you were talking about coming from a predominantly white small town. What was your journey to find yourself to be implicated in the Haitian community in a notable way to receive an award, right? There's a travel there. What does that path look like?
Yeah, that path is continuing to carry my heritage throughout my journey in art, teaching art, creating art, and finding my way to express it through organizations I've worked with through teaching artwork and getting that notoriety uh, because I'm wearing my Haitian pride always throughout it all. And it's just always been a connecting thing for me. I love teaching people. I love, like I said, getting people excited about art. It makes my heart so full to see people engaging in this way and being able to get past barriers, create something new, and all the while just having fun. And so
Mhm.
I always express that. I'm always like very overt with it, like creating art. I want everyone to have that opportunity and have that chance and to get to know that experience on such a personal level. And again, through my culture, it's all connecting, and I'm glad that I was recognized for that. It always feels nice to be recognized, of course. And
Yeah.
it was just such an amazing experience, and I'm so glad I got to share it online with everybody. And it's just a blessing that keeps giving, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Um, like you said, or at least if I were to project my experience into what I'm hearing from you, right? I was also born in Toronto, but moved to Quebec when I was small, right? I was around 8 years old. Also ended up moving into a predominantly white community, experienced quite a bit of racism there. And it was a struggle to find information about Haiti. It was, I'm going to school, I'm learning about Canada, I'm learning about Quebec, rightfully so, right? This is the country and the province that I'm in. But I am definitely noticing that I do have, my family comes from elsewhere. And so finding information, learning about the Haitian independence, that was such a mind-blowing moment for me. I was like, wait a minute, this happened? What? Why? How do I not know about this until the seventh or eighth grade? Like what? And so for you, what was your journey to develop this pride that I hear you mention quite repeatedly, right? My culture, my Haitian heritage, my pride, identity. In terms of finding information to say, oh, wait, that's Haiti. Okay, yeah, I identify with that. Yeah, I want to hold that close and dear. How did you go about finding that information? What did it, that treasure hunt? It was a treasure hunt for me.
Wow, such a great question. So similarly, yes, it was a treasure hunt from me. Growing up the way I did, having that foundation of stitching myself together and just researching as much as I could, finding little pieces of information where I could in the big city. Of course, it's easier to have resources like that, so that's where I really started. When I got to Toronto, coming from that small town, I was connecting with others, and I was a young teen at this point, and just learning about Haiti after these earthquakes, more so learning about their resilience and just how they were robbed throughout generations.
Right.
which is such a travesty. Of course, looking at the heritage now there, it is something to be. It's tough. It's tough to really see it as one of the richest countries, of course, and then here on all these news outlets coming from like this lens of coming from this lens, looking at it through the sorry, I'm losing my word. Like this colonial lens, and it's just tearing Haiti down and having all these negative words to say about it, say about their culture, say about their religion. It's just so tough, and I was desperate to find like such a positive or something uplifting to share with people and an experience with people to let people know that Haiti is was once such an amazing place and still is rich with culture. Again, I say across the diaspora, and so that was really steamboated in my late teens and on to my young adulthood. And even now, I still learn and become inspired about my culture in Haiti. Now that I'm connected fully with my family, which has been great,
Right.
so good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that there is something to be said around, like you said, the colonial lens,
Hmm.
and that sometimes we think about that colonial piece as, something that happened in history and that you're
Yeah,
still experiencing the aftermath of.
right.
But when we are looking at some of the narratives around Haiti, there is a neo-colonial lens that's projected onto Haiti still now today. It still feels really actual when you hear about the common tropes
Hmm.
to describe the country. I guess my question then kind of brings me to, I know you mentioned resilience, you mentioned arts and culture, but I hear a thirst, right? When I was a teenager, I got into the bigger city. I'm connecting with people. I'm learning all of these things. How does that thirst and what it sounds like quenching that thirst, right? How does that intersect with your mental health? How did it contribute, influence, get in the way of your mental wellness?
Great question. It was a bit of trial and error, seeing where I belonged and my
Right.
purpose in finding my artistic style and nurturing my mental health and mental wellness. It's so it's such an amazing experience connecting with others who are coming together for the same united goal, going to school or just like living in a city, navigating in a city and finding their purpose, what their job is, a career. uh, and it's just it's so important and so necessary to have that experience, to have that outlet, and being able to connect with people of your culture, connect with Black people coming from where I did. It was something I never knew I needed so much of, and that's where that thirst came from.
Right. Absolutely. Maybe one last question before our break, because we are going to have a quick moment to allow folks to grab some water, maybe jot down a couple of questions and connect with us. My experience, I was raised by Haitian parents, and so we would go to Haiti. And I was definitely the Canadian kid when I would go to Haiti. But then when I would come back to Quebec into the predominantly white neighborhood, I was definitely the Black girl. And then in high school, I went to a more diverse high school and I was meeting other Haitian kids. And it's like, you're the Haitian kid raised in a white neighborhood, right? So it's funny to see how the places where you go and where you grow up leave an imprint. How do you integrate the Canadian experience to this identity formation?
Hmm. So I find ways where I can dip into my Haitian roots and culture and add it to my traditions of being Canadian and growing up the way I did. And it becomes something more, something beautiful when I can have a well-rounded personality of traits. And it's taken many years. It has. Like I said, growing up where I did have identity issues at first, but now it's come full circle. I'm now connected with my culture, with my family, who teaches. I learn something new every single day, and it has just been something that I have been able to stitch together and become whole with again. And it's just such a great feeling. It's something that is indescribable, having all these different parts of me, and just being confident in all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess right before the break, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. Est-ce qu'on parle créole?
No,
No.
no. En français, like un petit peu.
Yeah, un petit peu en français. Wonderful. So that the same thing, right? Now I feel pretty comfortable with my Creole, but when I was a little girl, oh, I used to get teased so much going down to Haiti with my Anglophone,
Mm.
Francofied Creole. It was all over the place. But there is that sense of, yeah, we continue to grow, we continue to develop, we continue, to take different pieces and stitch them to get together, as you say. But there is a feeling of, oh my goodness, I think I found me. The crossroads are
Mm.
crossing, and this is me. So I know that in certain circles they'll be like, okay, black girl from Canada, and in other circles they'll be like, Canadian girl from Haiti, right? There'll be,
Yes.
all of these different intersecting ideas of what identity should be. But
Mhm.
I kind of like where I am right now, and it
It's
definitely does.
empowering. Own it.
It is empowering. Yes, absolutely, to own it. And it does have an effect on your mental health, right? Of being like, I'm settled here. I know I will most likely grow and move and shift, but I like this vibe. I recognize myself here.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love that for you.
Thank you. And love that for you too, as
Thank
well,
you.
right? Yeah, absolutely. So just checking in really quickly with tech, if we are right around that little pause. I just don't want to ask a question and have to cut in the midst of chatting. If not, I guess we'll just go right ahead. All right. I was saving.
Coping in color, coping in color. Coping in color, coping in color.
All right. Welcome back. Hopefully, everybody got their glasses of water really quickly, all of that good stuff. Back to chat with Honoré. So, a fine artist, visual artist based in Toronto, Ontario, chatting with us around coping and color. So, mental health, mental wellness, and intersecting with the Black experience and how he experienced that in his own journey. So, in doing some research to prepare for today, I found just this beautiful clip summarizing your path as a transracial adoptee from Haiti who connected with your biological brothers. So, continuing with the theme of crossroads, how does or how did this quest for your biological family intersect with your experience of mental health?
Mm. Yes, another great question. So, it's been such a beautiful journey. 30 years ago, I was adopted. Nearly over 30 years ago, and And through then, I was again being raised in this predominantly white community, not knowing my heritage, as well as the adoption, the orphanage, telling the parents who raised me that my family was nowhere to be found. My father was nowhere to be found. Even as early as my mother giving birth to me, she had passed away. This was a story that the orphanage had told my parents, but this was not true. I actually had two brothers who were in the orphanage who also got adopted into different North American families, and as well three other brothers who had stayed in Haiti. Furthermore, my mother actually did not pass away giving birth to me. She was still alive.
Wow.
So dealing with this really did affect my mental health at such a young age. This type of crossroad and trying to figure out where I belonged and how to truly move on from this and how to connect with my roots, not having those resources that I desperately needed.
Right.
And so when the time came, I actually turned 30. My biological family reached out to me. My brothers, my five brothers had reached out to me, and it was so great. It was like becoming full again, not
Right.
having those identity issues that I had, free
Right.
of identity issues. It was such a burden that was lifted, and
Right.
I was able to truly move in purpose and find my way through creating art and helping people, connecting with my brothers, learning about them, and even seeing my mother for the first time. I had never seen her before, and of course I had to paint her. I had painted her face, I painted my father. I made amazing painting of them both, which I'm still proud of, my favorite piece to date. And it's just been such an amazing journey coming together. And it truly has been my self care, learning about my family's family, nieces, and nephews, and just further connecting with them, traveling and seeing them. It gives me an excuse to go on vacation, which
Right.
everyone loves an excuse to go on vacation. So it's just been so great this whole journey. I couldn't ask for anything more in this time.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's such an important piece of your personal story, and it's a vulnerable one, right? To say, hey, the orphanage had provided my family with one story, and then I could discover a whole other one, and I get to travel. So,
Mm,
right, I think the way that it kind of hits home for me is, yes, I know my biological family. I was raised by my biological parents, but I remember learning, having to do a book report in the seventh grade about apartheid.
mm,
And it was the first time I was hearing about apartheid, first time, like, from the fil en aiguille, from one step to another,
mm,
finding out about enslavement.
mm,
And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I hope this didn't happen to anybody in my family.
mm,
Poor me at that age. I did not yet know that inherent to the fact of being Haitian. I mean, at that age, I thought the Haitian folks were like folks of the continent, like Africa,
mm,
just poop, just sprouted out and happened to be on this little island. So I
mm.
didn't know anything about enslavement. And so
Right.
for me, it was going back and learning about the different peoples who were forcibly brought onto that colony, and doing that research backwards and learning
Mm,
cultures, learning about peoples. So obviously what you shared with us today is a little bit closer in time. It's your direct biological family. But I feel like even for Black folks who were raised by their biological families, websites like AfricanAncestry.com, where you try to get your DNA and find out where your family's from, it's the same urge of saying, well, where do I come from? Am I, where do I hail from? Right?
mm.
So thank you for sharing that, because that definitely resonated with, oh yeah, I didn't feel exactly the same thing, but it does echo an experience, right?
Yes, of course. My pleasure to share with you, Kay. And just being a part of this podcast, connecting with others, it's just been a great experience altogether. Thank you.
Yeah. And you kind of brought us to the next question that I had for you is how does this crossroad between your mental health and, like you said, rediscovering wholeness, right? Through meeting with your five brothers, etc. How did it include art? You talked about being able to paint your parents, but can you maybe tell us a little bit about how that experience came about? How is it that you got to, I guess, propose the idea? Did they say paint us, right? Like how did that project come about?
Yeah, of course. Happy to share. So it was, it's funny looking back at it now. It started when I was so young all those years ago, and my mother, who raised me, had told me about the unfortunate tragedy that complications arose. My mother had actually passed away giving birth to me. And it was a very delicate conversation that she had with me. I cried over it, and she suggested maybe that I paint her face. I envisioned what she would look like. And the emotions for me at that age, it was just too much to bear. I
Right.
couldn't even begin to picture her. It was too hard for me. It was hard for me to really express the emotions I was feeling, articulate the emotions, and get it out into canvas, which has been my whole thing, just getting it on the canvas. And
Right.
so now, full circle, I now know what she looks like, and that alone inspired me to create the image of my parents embracing one another. Not only that, I got the opportunity to be in a Google ad with Google Canada, and I was live painting it for them, this
Ah,
particular painting. And it was so great to share it with the world. And it was like I was feeling inspired to show others that who are maybe going through a similar experience to really hold on and hold out for a type of experience of connecting with family or loved ones, or even just chosen family. And
mm-hmm.
it was just such an amazing transformative experience painting them holding one another.
Right. And that experience um, with Google Canada, if you're comfortable talking about it, how did that come about that they were able to be a part of that process and live painting your parents?
Yeah, yes, another great question. So I had actually done a mini docu series with CIBC, sorry, CBC The National,
Right.
about my reuniting with my brothers. My one brother had taken 15 years of his life to connect us all. He dedicated that. And
Wow.
it was such a strong, moving story that CBC decided to run a mini documentary about it. And then Google Canada caught wind of this documentary and decided to feature me in a mini ad, creating artwork in my natural habitat in the studio. And it was just such a great experience. I'm so glad I got that experience.
Right.
And it's just been so great being able to share that with everybody, share that with Canada and the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm intrigued when you're telling me about your brother that dedicated 15 years trying to find his siblings. Um, is this an older brother or younger brother than you?
Yep, it's an older brother. I am the youngest. I'm the baby of the group,
Yes.
and my brother is he's turning 40 this year. I'm gonna
Okay.
go visit him, and he lives in the U.S., so I can't wait to celebrate his birthday with him for the first time. It's gonna
Yeah.
be another transformative experience. I can't get enough.
That's so exciting to get to like live that birthday moment with your big brother.
Yeah, the 40 is a special one too, so I'm
Right.
honored, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could only imagine, I don't know if this is, if you have an answer to this, but it must have been such an experience for him as you talked about being maybe roughly around your 30s. He's turning 40. So he remembers most likely your birth, right? Like having to work so hard and trying to find, I'm just trying to imagine his experience as an older brother, knowing you exist and knowing his other siblings exist. Did he tell you a little bit about what motivated him to dedicate so many years to try and find you?
Yeah, so he it's a little it's a little foggy for him, those memories. It
Okay.
was so long ago, right? And I am the baby, like I just explained, meaning that I have other brothers even older than him. So those three brothers actually do remember me all those years ago being pulled away essentially to go to this orphanage. They were crying afterwards, thinking that maybe I would return to the family, but that was not the case. And
Mhm.
so my brother was determined all those years ago, in his early 20s, to dedicate most of his life to band us together again, and he was just determined to see it through with no roadblocks. It's very inspiring to me, and
Right.
it's just such a beautiful story of him connecting with others using 23andMe and Ancestry.com, like you
Mhm.
mentioned. And for me, I had never actually enrolled into those programs, so it took longer to find me. And he was scouring the internet. At last, he had found me on none other than the platform LinkedIn, of all platforms to find people.
Right.
Like traditionally, maybe we think of like a Facebook connecting with long lost family, but it was LinkedIn, and he reached out. I didn't believe it at first, but we just talked for the rest of the night, and it was such a powerful conversation, and the rest is history.
Rest is history, absolutely. And just being able to touch on like really quickly on your brother's experience, hearing about everything moving earth and trying to find you. I wonder if how that connects with the importance of community for you, because just a few moments back in our conversation, right, you're talking about the community and feeling like you belong, being part of a group. What does that story that you just told us now, how does that connect with community as a value to you?
Mm. Community is everything to me. I've been searching for through it, and searching my entire life. And it's when it all came together, reuniting, and the just this culminating story of being connected through. Now we talk on Facebook, my brothers and I, and the rest of my family who are abroad. It's just it's just such a full circle moment in my life. I mentioned before, my life is I it feels so complete now. I couldn't ask for anything more in my life. I know my nephews and nieces, and I have these two loving families now. I have so much family. It's just bursting
Right,
at the seams, and I
right.
couldn't I couldn't ask for anything more at this time. It's just such a beautiful thing, and again, connecting with community, it makes it possible for me to move in such confidence with my art, through my mental health, help people unlock that and express that through art. It's been such an amazing experience, and it keeps giving.
Right, right. And we hope to continue seeing more of that art coming through and how that translates, onto the canvas. I think one of my favorite pieces, yes, it's the one where on your website you're standing by the piece that you created of your parents. But I remember as a kid just loving the Blue Jays. And I saw it's kind of like in the background there. I was like, ah, that's the Blue Jays logo, and going as a little girl, but then at the same time having memories of going to Haiti as a little girl and playing with the goats and playing with the farm animals, right? So it's just bringing all of that, like you said, stitching all of those experiences together to be Honoré or to be Kay or to be whoever, right? And what that means for our mental health, right?
Yes, the Haitian diaspora, it's so powerful, and it's just a force to be reckoned with. I love it. I love my Haitian culture, and I love that we could do this today, Kay.
Absolutely. I think it's great to get to chat with you. I'm wondering, as we're coming gently to the end, I mean, we still got a little around 10 minutes. But I'm wondering, in getting to know your family and your nieces and nephews and all of the folks, are there artists on the other side of the family too, right? On your Haitian side of the family. You talked about the mom who raised you, who's, an artist and hopping through galleries with her. Did you discover any artists on your Haitian family side?
Yeah, a mini artist. My niece is
Yeah.
an artist, and I actually taught her an art workshop, which I love doing. I love teaching online. I'm able to connect with people far and near. It's quite a great experience that I've grown to love. And so I taught her a painting class, an acrylic painting class, and she is quite the talented force. It's so great to see her like advance in different modalities. She's a dancer as well, and a creative all around. So it's just been such a blessing to finally be connected and see that come to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's exciting, right? To just imagine, okay, yeah, that was fostered by my mom, and then now I get to foster it in my niece, right? It's just such a beautiful way to bring yourself through all of the family. Like you've got family galore now, right? Being able to share that everywhere.
Mhm.
When it comes to your legacy, right, which is another really important part of Haitian culture, we do believe in our ancestors. Ancestry is very important, regardless of the denomination of religion, but ancestry and elders is important. But then there is also from there, what are you leaving forward? Maybe for our last 5 minutes and kind
Mhm.
of chat about what's the legacy you would like to leave, bearing in mind what you've told us today in terms of where you're coming from, what your crossroad is.
Wow, great question. My legacy: never give up, never stop learning. Knowledge is power. Keep
Hmm.
striving. And it may seem tough in the face of adversity. People, naysayers, even that constructive criticism, it comes in all different forms. But if you stick with it, consistency, again, practice makes progress. You will find a light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to express that to the nth degree. And I hope to inspire people in that way to pursue whatever they need to, if they are creative or whatever modality they choose in being a creative, to have an outlet, to stick with it, and just have fun. It doesn't have to be so serious or so professional, even. Just have fun in what you're doing and make sure that you're always thinking of your mental health. At the end of the day, it's just you, and you are number one.
Right, absolutely. Thank you for those words. I kind of finished your sentence in my head. Practice makes perfect, but no, you said progress, right? And
Progress,
right at the
yes,
end there, you're like, it's not even trying to be professional. It's not even trying to, right? So I think that was intentional to not say perfect and to
yes.
say progress instead. So I'm taking that in my back pocket because this whole perfectionism, uh, uh, what's the word? Imposter syndrome, right? That you could
Mm.
feel coming into, these different opportunities that you may have from your craft, right? Practice makes progress. I really love that. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what are you working on in 2024? What does 2024 look like for you?
Yeah. So I'm a featured artist with an organization called Nia Center. Nia Center for the Performing Arts in Toronto. And they're just an organization dedicated to helping Black youth and mentorship programs. So right now I'm going to be working with them on a mentorship program about being a successful artist navigating in the city of Toronto. So I've created this whole schedule and these sessions around it. And it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward working with Nia Center.
That's exciting. I'm so happy I asked you that question. It wasn't even planned. A lot of the questions today were not planned.
Great.
Like I told you,
Organic, the
I
best way.
tend to, right? I
Yeah.
tend to improvise. And so we had a couple of questions, but just such a beautiful, rich, and interesting story that inspired many others. I'm so excited to hear about this NIA Center mentorship program that you're putting together. And I hope folks listening that would be in the greater Toronto area, check it out, look it up, support it, or even participate. Who can participate in this mentorship program?
Yes. So it is Black Youth, and you can just go to niacenter.com. There's a mentorship section where you can enroll, and you can connect with me as well online. All my information is there. It's just haitianbased.com. That's where you'll find my website. Through then, there are links to my Instagram account and everything else you need to know. So, I'll mention my Instagram account.
Yeah.
Maybe I could actually, I can just say it now. It is create all ways. So it's at, and then when I say create, it's an acronym, CRT, all, ALL, ways, WAYS. That's
Yes,
me.
wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for giving that information, helping us find you, stay connected to your story, and continuing to grow and expand, and hopefully much success to you, much success to the mentorship program. Please, any young youth, any young Black youth watching, or family members, grown ups as we would call us now. I'm a grown up.
Right.
Grown ups, think about the youth around you, and refer them to this. I think it will be a beautiful, beautiful mentorship program to be a part of. Thank you so much, Honoré.
Thank you, Kay. I can't express enough gratitude and just all the work that you do, helping people seek mental wellness and just all encompassing mental health. It's really such a service you're doing, especially in the month of June, Men's Mental
Right.
Health Month. It's needed and so necessary, and you are truly doing such a service. I
Yeah,
applaud you. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much. That was today's edition of Coping in Color with Black Mental Health Canada. Thank you so much to the whole team supporting us tech wise, supporting us through and through for this podcast. Obviously, on our YouTube page, you could find our other episodes. So be sure to, go through those and listen on and share as well. Thank you again, Honoré. Thank you, everybody. And my name is Kay, and it was a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. Thank you.